Hello and a warm welcome to Forever Blues, your podcast for all things Birmingham City with myself, Neil Moxley, my co-host Colin Tattum, and our grateful thanks to Davison's Law for sponsoring this podcast. Well, we're going to look at the first big chunk of the season now. It's a bit of a half-term report, for want of a better sort of phrase. And my co-host has come up with an idea, a ranking idea really, on how we should basically quantify Blues' start to the season. So it's over to you, Carl.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that how can we, like you said, quantify, the opening 9 games, and as we head into second international break. And I was thinking, so on a scale of Björn Otto Bragstad being 1 to Christophe Dugarry being 10, where would you put Blues?
Right, okay. Well, I would give them a 6.5. 7 or a 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's quite high. And the player right. Okay, I'm going to say Damien Johnson.
Okay, right.
And I'm going to say Damien Johnson because we were unsure a little bit about how he was going to get on when he arrived from Blackburn Rovers. We weren't really sure what he brought, and then once we saw what was going on the pitch in terms of his industry and his application and his desire and his drive, then I think he sort of grew on us. And that I feel that way about this Blues team, that it's actually growing on me a little bit. There's been a lot of change in terms of, particularly in the forward areas. Obviously, Jay Stansfield, is the one that's sort of stood out. And I genuinely think it's growing on me, the team is. I think there's a lot to take from the late goals. I think there's a lot to take from the drive they've shown, particularly at home. There was certainly room for improvement away from home, which we'll come on to. But by the end of his stay at Blues, I think everybody appreciated what DJ had done. That he put in a tremendous amount of effort, never let the shirt down. Yeah, wasn't in the same class as somebody like Dugarry, for instance. But he more than had his moments, and particularly when we got into the Premier League as well. So, I'm going to give it a 6.5 and 7 out of 10, to be honest with you, and I'd be interested to see what your thoughts were and your player that reflects Birmingham City's start to the season.
Yeah, I think Blues have been a 6 and a bit Stephen Clemence.
Right, okay.
Sort of, very, very steady. You know what you're going to get. Relatively reliable. And fairly unspectacular.
Okay.
But there are moments. There are moments that are the opposite to that. And okay, maybe you probably always wanting a bit more. You want a Brian Hughes meets Barry Ferguson meets Stan Lazaridis.
Yeah.
But you know what you're getting with Stephen Clemence.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'd say that's what Blues are at the moment, and I think we've talked about on previous pods that there are areas that they can improve on. There are areas where you'd imagine they will get better over time, and also I think you touched upon it there that there has been again a big turnover in players, and it's getting those especially injured ones back as well, but it is also getting people assimilated into a pattern and a structure of play and a settled team that works. And I think Chris Davies will alter and change bits to the style. Which we've seen a lot of the comments of late about him saying he wants the players to turn forward, to pass forward, to make runs off the ball, ahead of the ball.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be seeing more of that when Blues, get back into the thick of things. It's interesting as well. I've just been in a little bit of checking a few of the stats. I mean, obviously as we talk, Blues are 16th, 9 games in, won 3, drawn 3, lost 3. Again, it's about.
Yeah,
as that reflects the performances, you'd say. The 3 points from the playoff zone, 6 points from the relegation zone. But the league, I keep saying it's so concertinaed, and I think it's going to be tight, all season. There are 6 clubs on 12 points. I'm just again looking at notes here that 4 points separate teams from 7th to 18th.
Yeah,
and the 3 games that they've lost, don't forget, are all away.
Yeah.
To the team that's top of the league, Coventry City, the team that's 3rd, Leicester City, and Stoke City were 5th.
Yeah.
So, again, the stats tell you a lot about how Blues have been over those 9 games, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just breaking it down into the good and the bad, what do you think the plus points have been?
For a team that had to step up from League One, yes, it was a all-conquering, record-breaking machine of a team in League One. I think, they've not looked out of place in the Championship. Obviously, they have got experienced players who they are assimilating, as we've mentioned, but I don't think it's, there's not massive problems, and Blues will not be scratching around like they have been in previous years at this level. I think they'll be pushing and very competitive as it goes on. That's and I think also a positive that generally they have been sound defensively. If you want to put to one side the old set piece, right, put that to one side. Generally, they've been quite sound. I feel, and I think also there are signs that they can get better. It's still a little bit of a work in progress, and we've mentioned before you've got quality players like Damari Gray, Patrick Roberts. Hopefully Marvin Dutch will come good and get fit and get a run of games. So I think there is a lot to be positive for, and we mentioned on the previous pod as well that they will carry on till the end, and they've got a resilience about them and a desire to not to lose and to try to win games and or rescue games. What about yourself? Good bits?
Yeah, the good bits, I think, Chris Davis wanted the side to be competitive. That's what he wanted. He wanted to see how competitive they were. The answer is pretty much very, with the exception probably of the Coventry City game, where they really didn't show a lot at all, I didn't think, even up until the sending off. I thought they were second best, quite frankly. So, yes, I know Coventry are in a rich vein of form at the moment. They scored 27 goals and whatever. They're swatting everybody to one side at the moment. But I just didn't think we laid a glove on them. So are they competitive? Yes. Do I think he knows his best team yet? Probably no. Do I think there'll be improvement with consistency of selection? Yes. Do I think there are signs they're going to get better? Yes. Does he have the opportunity to rotate some of his strikers? Yes. So I think everything's sort of pointing. I know it's like you say 16th, but the table could be anything at the moment. To be quite frank, I think it's taking a little bit of shape at the top end. The teams that are going to be difficult to beat have probably established themselves. So yeah, I think there are. I think the green shoots of recovery are there, and I don't expect, to be honest with you, Blues to be looking nervously down the fixtures come February, thinking, "Oh, can we get 3 points there? Oh, we might be able to sneak a point in there. Oh, look, we've got 2 of the relegated teams in the last 6 games. Hopefully, we can get 4 points from that." I honestly don't think it will be a case of that, which I think is, which, in the grand scheme of things, is a step forward. But so I think there are lots of positives.
One thing that we have seen. In this opening period, lots of possession, but maybe not the punch to go with it. Again, shots on target per match, Blues are 23rd.
Right.
Ranked 23rd in the league, 2.7, 12 shots.
I think that's worrying.
So, again, I think we all know that is an issue, and it's not as if Chris Davis and his staff are burying their head in the sand about it, is it? That's the thing. But I do take your point. You've got to obviously, keep it tight at the back, but you need to score goals if you want to progress to get out of this league. Yeah,
I think that's worrying. And the one thing I would say is that Chris Davis wants them to get competitive. One thing I do think that's happened, and it's driving me mad already, and they do need, in my opinion, they do need to sort it out, is for them to get the ball forward more quickly. It's not going to be enough to pound the rock in as we did in League One so successfully with this group of players, and expect teams to just fold for 2 reasons. One, Blues don't have the swagger and the cachet and the amount of a markedly better side than anybody else. And 2, the teams they're facing have got by dint better players. So you would expect them to be able to stay in a shape and frustrate Blues. If they're going to cause problems, if they're going to improve that, 2.7 shots on goal per game, they need to get the ball forward more quickly, and they need to, I know Chris Davis doesn't like it because he's a bit of a control freak in that respect, but he's going to have to try and accept that to land a blow, you might have to take one every now and again.
What I've mentioned this before is what I do like about the manager is that he's not wedded to obsessively wedded to a philosophy, and he's very rigid with it. He can be pragmatic, as we saw last season as well with what he did after the Shrewsbury game, and he will make decisive changes to try to elicit something different. So I think that's a positive as well. But it is settling on something that does work, and it's got to be a mix of everything. Like you said, playing forward, maybe go long, go for channels sometimes, just try and be progressive. And also, I think we saw in that Ipswich game the ferocity of the pressing from the front, and Blues have always been good at that. They're still highly ranked for that. But to play with that tempo as well, move it forward with that tempo, and get runners off the ball a little bit more. I'm sure, I'm sure we're not saying anything that they don't already know, and the huge majority of the fans that watch Blues know as well.
Yeah, one thing that really gave me great heart actually, and it may not have been in the open part of the press conference that they may have missed ahead of the Wrexham game, but Chris Davies was explaining his overall philosophy, and he was talking about he wants entertainment insofar as but he really wants effective football. He wants his football to actually have an end product. It's pointless just, he basically said I get that it's pointless just passing the ball around for the sake of it without any sort of jeopardy in the play. You've got to let Damari Gray or Patrick Roberts give them a bit of a free rein to go and cause havoc in the opposition third of the field. So that was really interesting to me because, I've always been about the scoreline, and I think last year there were games, and we all sat through them, where you're thinking, God, this is dull. Just go and get another goal and kill it off. Do you know what I mean? But Chris Davies can point to the scoreline and says Birmingham City 1, Exeter 0. It might have been a Joe Stansfield penalty or whatever.
It was dull though. But end of the season, they cut loose, and in games as well, they were in so much control. It was actually enjoyable for me to sit back to go, I cannot see us losing this game, and I'm going to sit there. I've not seen this for. We've not dominated. We don't control games. We've not done this for years and years and years and years and years. So
no.
I know what you're saying. There is this perception that it's dull, and but the proof's in the pudding, I guess. Anyway, that's a digression, is it?
Yeah,
so
but it was interesting for me to hear him say, that I want effective football. So, i.e., I will swap and change. I will move it around. Now it's up to him really, because I'm sure he's talked to us about. And I'm laughing because I didn't actually know until what PPDA was until the other day. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is.
You thought it was a delivery firm, didn't you?
Yeah, something like that. But so he will be looking at those stats, and and I'm sure that shots on target one will be one they zero in on during the international break.
Yeah, I mentioned about defensively overall. Blues have been quite good. They don't allow that many shots at goal. They don't give up massive chances really. Again, you'll love this XG conceded 20th, which is actually good.
Right.
So trust me, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are hard to score against in general. Obviously, as we said, where they are in the league, 1-3, drawn 3, lost 3. Might suggest otherwise, but and again, Blues for big chances created, they're quite high up, but they're also quite high up for big chances missed as well.
Yeah.
So again, you can see where I'm going with this a little bit. I don't want to go all stats nerd on you because I know you'll just tune out, and so will everybody watching and listening to this. But everything does point to that they are where they are for the reason. It's probably where they deserve to be, but there is room to get better.
Yeah.
With certain aspects that if they are addressed in the future weeks.
Yeah, you can draw a comparison to somebody like Coventry. Have got a settled squad, have made one or two little changes, not done much to it, and then you look at what's actually happened at Blues, which is a big overhaul. And you've got to cut Chris Davies some slack because he's had we've got people in right into the death. Jack Robinson came in, didn't he, on the final day, for instance, and the season was 3 or 4 weeks. Was 3 weeks underway by then, so he's still finding out about the people that we've dragged in. He's still finding out about what suits and what doesn't, what they like, what they don't. They're still finding out about him. There's going to be a natural bedding in period. If we're still talking like this in December, we've got an issue. Do you know what I mean? Because you won't know what his best side is, and consistency, generally speaking, in selection, fosters some sort of like consistency in results, and you can basically change it up and change it up hopefully from there. But I genuinely still feel he's there are one or two. I think he knows a little bit more about where his best side is. But what did you think?
Yeah, still to be seen to come, isn't it? Really, I think another issue that you would hope that Blues will sort out in the next block of games is recently there's been a glut of individual errors that have been really costly, which is quite unusual. You get them game after game after game. That wasn't the case. That's not usually a hallmark of one of his teams. But they were just going through this phase. I think there was errors that were really costly.
Yeah.
In all games, I think especially obviously the games that they lost and the Sheffield Wednesday game, which they did rescue. So what is it? Is it patterns of play, continuity of people around you, or is it just down to individual concentration? I don't know, but that's something that you would hope is eradicated as we move forward.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. We've become too easy. The last 3 or 4 games, I'm talking about Wrexham as we sit here today, Wrexham, Sheffield Wednesday and Coventry, too easy to score against. They haven't had to do a lot, these teams, to score goals against us. We didn't, and unlike last season, in all those games, sorry, not in the Sheffield Wednesday one, but certainly in the Coventry one and the Wrexham one, we've been chasing. And we've chased, obviously, at Leicester and Stoke as well. And it's a position that they've not found themselves in too often under Chris Davis. They've actually, generally speaking, got the all-important first goal and been able to dictate things from there. But my point is, really, teams aren't having to do... I don't think one of those Coventry goals was earned, if I'm being honest. One was a second phase off a throw-in. The second one was, okay, they got a man over. We were a man down from a cross into the box that probably went a bit too far, and maybe I don't know, maybe Ronald should have maybe come and got it. Third one was just a comedy. I mean, it was just like what we've been through before. But that's sort of highlights it. The 2 Sheffield Wednesday, and again, the set piece goal at Wrexham. I just think we need to start eradicating. If we're going to progress this season, we need to teams. If somebody rattles a goal in from it, get back from 25 yards, then fair enough. But not when they've got free headers or tapping the ball at the far post following a free kick from 4 yards out.
Which players do you think so far, I know we're only talking a snapshot of 9 games, would have a decent report card? Who do you think has done well for Blues thus far?
Well, I'm going to mention Christophe Clara, obviously, because I think he's continued from where he left off, despite the fact he was played on the left-hand side in the early part of the season. I'm going to say Jay Stansfield, because I really like the kid. I like it. I mean, a lot of our goals have come either from him or through him, or had his hand somewhere. Paik and Iwata haven't been as dominant as they were last season, but I think sometimes they've been outnumbered in there. I think they've done. I think they've acquitted themselves quite well. And I know this isn't a massively popular opinion, but I think Bright Osayi-Samuels, I prefer him to Ethan there because of his defensive capability. I know some people are saying he doesn't get as well as a forward as well as Ethan there, but we've not really. I don't think he's really been given full licence to, and the quality of the opposition he's faced has obviously been a lot higher. But I do think Ethan Laird as well, until his injury.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think until his injury, I think Laird had been excellent. Both defensively, there's been numerous blocks and important interceptions he's made defensively, and also, going forward, he's been an influence as well, and he's had to also play on the left-hand side. I think he's acquitted himself very well, like yourself, Christophe Clara. The guy's just like a big Austrian brick wall, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's great. Damari Gray.
Yes, sorry, I think, yeah.
His aptitude, application, allied to his ability, it's undoubted. He's been very good, and one who's probably he's got headlines a couple of times coming off the bench. Lyndon Dykes, and bearing in mind he's obviously not the manager's first choice, and he could have gone to Hibernian on transfer deadline day. But when he's been involved, he's given his all, and he's done well. He's contributed. So I think he's been a little bit maybe of an unsung hero so far for Blues in this start.
Yeah, his contribution's been massive. You look at what happened at Blackburn, and then obviously the goal against Swansea City, and that's effectively 4 points, isn't it? That we got off the back of Lyndon's late intervention.
What about
good job I hadn't had a drink, innit? Lyndon's I could never have got that out.
Bewdley spirits is to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the Kyogo conundrum?
I've said from the first sort of time I saw him really that I think he's a striker that's had a lot of confidence sucked out of him from his time at Rennes. It was interesting actually watching Chris Davis's post-match. You say I've been drinking enough. Post-match comments after the following Wrexham, and he had that goal disallowed. And they said on commentary actually that will give him a great deal of confidence just because of the manner of the finish. And Davis backed that up in his post match, and I tend to think that might give him a little bit of confidence. But I just think I think he's been a little bit unlucky, and I hope he doesn't turn into one of these strikers who we're ever bemoaning the fact that he's unlucky and he goes off and scores sort of like 25 goals for somebody else. I mean, there was that shot, wasn't it? Hit somebody in the face the other week. I mean, I can't remember the game.
Swansea.
Was it Swansea? Yeah, it was over a kick, wasn't it? And somebody got into his face and the face on the line. But other finishes have been less convincing, and they just smack to me of a striker that's low on confidence. Because he's and the other thing I would say is it ties into what we said earlier on about big chances created and all the rest of it. He's had some big chances. There have been some big chances.
5 or 6, I think, as the stats.
Yeah, and he really needs to start taking some of them because it's killing Chris Davis at the moment.
Yeah, a player of his experience and calibre, you would hope that he does take those chances.
What would you do if you were?
I've said before, if you're looking at a front two, as it were, which they were fairly. They did play more of a two in the Swansea City game, Marvin Dutch and Jay Stansfield. And I would have Kyogo coming off the bench, adding that spark, giving him something different. That's how I would do it at the moment. Yeah. I'm not saying he's not going to get into the team and go on a run and a scoring one and what have you. But again, we mentioned there about shots on target and the creativity of Blues. They're trying to improve that. It's about also learning his runs, the angles he goes at. You saw Stansfield to Patrick Roberts at Wrexham.
Yeah.
And you could easily imagine Kyogo making that run and being on the end of that. So again, we said it's a work in progress, but I do hope it turns for him, because the longer it goes on, and you can there's a danger you get into a rut and you might never get out of it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
mate.
I was going to ask about another player that Blues chased him for a long time. They hoped to have got him the previous summer. In the end, they got him on a Bosman, Phil Neumann.
Yeah.
Now, I know, and you'll know as well, speaking to people down there, they were very excited with his signing because of his pedigree and his ability, basically. They felt, big, strong, but athletic, quick. It's not quite worked out for him, has it? Why hasn't the two right-footed centre halves worked?
I've got to be honest. I'm slightly.
Or can it still work? I mean, surely he can get back into the team.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason. I mean, it's not as if he's been, chucking it in week after week. You know what I mean? But my issue with it really is I just can't quite see the logic of it. I'll tell you for why. You've got a perfectly good right foot, left foot combination last season, and I'll say this. I said this to some people in the recruitment team at the start of August. Stop messing around. Whatever the issue is with Ben Davies, just go and get it sorted. I don't understand why it wasn't done, and I've had the sort of feedback that they wanted better in inverted commas. But to me, Davies was a top 6 championship defender. You can worry about, if you get in the Premier League, worry about that then. You can rejig your defence when you get there. But this is our first season back. He's used to operating top 6, top 8, top 10 even in the Championship. He plays week after week. He's got a good relationship with Clara. For me, it was a no-brainer. Now, I know they'll say they wanted some sort of like cover for Alex Cochrane, and I sort of half get that. But for me, putting Davis back in there was an absolute no-brainer. Coming back, and that relates to the Neumann point, because it's sort of, we sat next to one another at the Forest game, and we both sort of said, why is Norman playing on the right and why is Clara shifted on the left? If Clara's preferred position, and he's such a titan, been such a titan for Blues, on the right hand side, why are you playing him on the left to accommodate somebody else? I just because he was somebody that we chased for ages. So we brought in two. We've got a really good left foot, right foot sort of combination, and the guy we're chasing is to replace or compete with the guy who's the captain and has played arguably. I just don't quite understand the thought process.
Yeah, I'm sure they could. They should be able to work it out between them, if that makes sense. I think Clara's good at bringing the ball forward, and as we see, pops up in those inside right positions, basically, when we've got teams on the back foot, doesn't he? Maybe Neumann on the ball is not as assured. Maybe that's one of the issues as well. But in terms of, I know, the jury's probably still out on him because he's now come out of the team, but I still think, from what I've read and heard and bits that I've seen, that there is a very, very highly capable defender there.
Yeah.
So it's something that they're going to have to make work, basically.
Yeah, I think so, mate, to be honest. I think that's one of the sort of like issues I've got really with this summer's recruitment. I'm quite, you can probably hear it in my voice, I'm a bit strident on that one because, I really don't understand Davis has gone to Oxford. Do you know what I mean?
But he's not actually started.
No,
but
games, I know, but yeah, okay. Perhaps neither is Marvin Dux. Do you know what I mean? So
due to injury, really.
Yeah, okay, but at least not. Yeah. But I've got to be honest. I don't know about Oxford, so I'll plead the fifth on that one. But for me, I'd have got him back over. To be honest, over before even like thought about it here in cashing. So.
What about Marvellous Marvin? Is he a friend of yours?
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
Marvin. Sorry.
Oh no, he's a friend of yours. You like him, don't you, a lot? From what I've seen, I think he paints, like I said in the previous part. I think he paints good pictures. I think we will, with the likes of Damari and Patrick Roberts and everybody, and Jay, obviously sort of like flitting in and around him. I think he'll be a real asset. It's slightly worrying that they've not yet got him really on the pitch with any consistency. But I do think he showed enough in that sort of like 60 minutes against Swansea, was it? I think he showed enough to suggest that he's going to be an asset when they get him fit. Yeah, what do you think?
Exactly. I can't wait for him to actually get in the team and be fully fit and firing. I think he could be a bit of an enigmatic player as well, something a little bit X factor. And we forget William Williamson has been out of the side for a while. He might get fit and come back and actually get in there and like, no, that's my spot. I'm going to make that my own again. You don't know, do you?
No.
But in terms of obviously as another high profile summer signing, you would hope that it works for Dutch. You really would.
Yeah.
That's why I'm really intrigued and fascinated to see him out there having a run of games to see what he can actually bring to the table properly.
Yeah, as it's a half-term report, mate. Got to give him a grade, haven't we?
No, done that with the player ratings.
Did we?
You've gone for a wishy-washy 6.5-ish type.
Well, yeah, all right.
6.75. You're just fudging that a bit. Really.
I'd go for a B+. That's what it sort of equates to for me, to be honest with you. I don't know what you sort of think.
Played 3. Sorry, won 3, drawn 3, lost 3. So you're looking at a C.
You're looking at C?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's par for the course.
Bit harsh on your range, you are, aren't you?
Not really. Everyone knows that Blues can do better, and I'm expecting them to. So I'm just, people. Nowadays people get things too easy.
Right, this seems like an appropriate time to stop it. Thanks ever so much for joining us once more, myself and Cole. We do appreciate it. Our grateful thanks to Davison's Law and our junior sponsors, Beauty Spirits, AMG Logistics and Drain Tech. Thanks one and all. If you can give us a like, follow or subscribe. It's Forever Blues on the website. We'll be having updates on that pretty much consistently from now on. So thank you very much for joining us all, and keep right on.